A sixth bus carrying illegal immigrants detained at the southern border left Texas and arrived in Washington, D.C. late on Sunday. In a statement, Texas Governor Greg Abbott had confirmed the bus was en route to the nation's capital. Abbott says it must be done this way due to what he describes as the Biden administration's mismanagement of illegal immigrants pouring in from Mexico. The mayor of border city McAllen, Texas, is imploring President Biden not to end Title 42. In a letter to the president, Mayor Javier Villalobos says that although his border city's community is giving, well-prepared, and proactive, no amount of preparation will allow the government to respond to the anticipated surge of illegal immigrants once Title 42 is lifted. The Biden administration reacted to Abbott's busing of illegal immigrants, calling it a publicity stunt. Title 42 is effective until May 23rd, after which the number of illegal immigrants released into the U.S. is expected to double. Border Patrol detained a record number of illegal immigrants at the southern border last month. That number included 23 people on the U.S. terrorist watch list. The Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, counted over 221,000 illegal immigrants attempting to cross into the United States from Mexico. Congressman James Comer of Kentucky, who serves as the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, and Congressman John Katko, ranking member of the House Homeland Security Committee, wrote to DH Secretary Mayorkas last month asking for clarification about the current administration's border policies, which allow terrorists to come into the United States. Last month, DHS reported releasing over 80,000 illegal immigrants into the United States. Restoring Trump-era energy independence. This is proving to be a fine line to walk for the Biden administration as they try to appease climate activists. But the White House is also facing mounting pressure to lower prices at the pump. Over the holiday weekend, the White House announced they'll resume selling oil and gas leases on federal lands. But the administration is still trying to secure a path forward on renewable energy production in the U.S. How is this plan to transition to renewables coming along? NTD's Melina Weiskup has the details.
President Biden has vowed to transition America to renewable energy. One goal is to have half of all U.S. vehicles electric in just 8 years. But right now, that goal conflicts with another pressing matter, U.S. energy independence. NTD spoke with a senior policy analyst to learn more. Is this a goal do you think we can possibly realistically reach by then without relying on foreign adversaries for those critical materials?
It's going to be a challenge. Currently today, we rely a lot on other countries for importing materials to process electric vehicles. Currently, 90% of rare earth minerals, for example, are processed in China. A target for the Biden administration is to broaden our, where we get mineral reserves for certain clean energy technologies.
Lithium is a key ingredient in batteries for electric cars. Right now, the U.S. only has one lithium mine in Nevada, and there are less than 30 battery plants. To accelerate this effort, the Biden administration in March invoked the Defense Production Act to help invest in building some of this infrastructure.
And so what that practically means is that he can use his power to issue grants and loans to create new battery mines and processing plants.
The Department of Energy is working towards opening 13 more battery plants by 2025. But even as we start to see more electric cars on the road, some energy analysts point out that electric vehicles still must rely on a power source for energy.
But at the end of the day, you have to take a look at under the hood, where does the electricity for your electric vehicles come from? So unless you have a solar-powered electric vehicle, you have to plug into somewhere.
He says one solution is to have a mixed energy approach, such as using a mix of coal, natural gas, renewables, and nuclear energy, while using technology to reduce CO2 emissions.
For example, coal can be cleaned up a lot through filters, through processing of the ore components so that it burns a lot cleaner.
And while there is carbon capture technology to help reduce the amount of emissions released into the air, the technology is expensive, which is one reason it's not more popular. As for nuclear energy, right now, Russia and China dominate the nuclear energy market. Now on Capitol Hill, there's a bipartisan push led by Senators Joe Manchin and Jim Risch to invest resources into developing American nuclear energy. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
A federal judge in Florida overturned the CDC mask mandate covering airplanes and other public transportation. She stated the mandate exceeded the CDC's authority. Judge Catherine Kimball Mizell made the decision. She said the CDC improperly failed to justify its decision and did not follow a proper rulemaking process. The CDC recently extended the mask mandate for another 15 days through May 3rd. The mandate was originally set to expire on April 18th. Judge Mizell was appointed by former President Trump in 2020. One of what some might consider a silver lining coming out of the lockdowns and remote learning for children was that it opened the door and shed light on what was being taught in the classrooms. The state of Virginia likely felt the political repercussions of these issues coming to light. Now parents around the country are mobilizing and taking steps to make sure that inappropriate content is not being taught in classrooms around the country. This issue has been uniting parents from both political parties. One of those parents who recently took a leap to get involved is John Aguila of Osceola County, Florida. We had a chance to speak with him a short time ago at an event we were covering.
John Arguellos, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Report.
Thank you very much.
Now, John, you are a school board member in Osceola County, Florida, recently elected. Tell us what brought you into this service.
Well, originally, I got in before school boards was at the front of politics, really. And I thought I was going to come in and kind of improve processes and systems from a business background. I had no idea what was waiting for me once I was elected.
Now, I mean, how does your average parent who wants to get involved, they're seeing, what's going on out there, and how would you advise them to go out and do it?
I think the number one thing is to watch a school board meeting, visit your school board, and that will provide you with all the inspiration that any person needs to get involved. 5 minutes watching a school board meeting, and all of a sudden every citizen becomes fired up on what's happening with their kids that no one was paying attention to.
So what are some of the major issues that you found were really concerning parents?
I think the number one thing is we hear a lot about CRT, we hear a lot about books that are very concerning, but the number one thing is a lack of transparency that school districts have with parents. And that's really what's ruined education in the United States. It used to be a teacher and a parent had a great relationship, and that was a team that educated kids. But today what you have is a bureaucratic system, in my case that's $1.7 billion large, and they don't want parents involved necessarily. What they want is the freedom to control education and to control what they're learning and to control the aspects and philosophy of education, and that's not necessarily appropriate. Really, the parent is the number one educator for their kids, and it's in partnership with the teacher that they provide a good education. But right now, it's about lack of transparency, and that's happening all across the country, not just in Osceola County.
Now, when it comes to running a campaign, your average parent may not know what to do or where to start, but they want to get involved. So how would you, advise them to do that?
I would reach out to liberty-minded groups who are interested in education for kids that is effective in terms of intellectual education, not people who are trying to push an ideology on kids, right? And when you find these like-minded groups, Moms for Liberty is a good one, they will help people. You can talk to your parties, but really the parties don't want to get involved in a nonpartisan group, or it's really about the community, sense of community, and that's why I like Moms for Liberty, because it's just a bunch of parents that got together and decided they weren't going to take this anymore type of thing. So it's really about getting involved, watching a school board meeting, going to talking with your teachers, finding out what you didn't know that was going on in education, and all of a sudden you become inspired. You meet other people. There's other people that will be at these school board meetings who are really interested, and it's just it's a powerful environment right now to be a part of.
Now, is it like traditional politics in the sense where you get out and you start, canvassing neighborhoods, door knocking, signage around? How does that all work?
Absolutely. It's really the small-scale traditional campaigning. Every community is different. In my community, it involved all of that. It involved mailers, it involved signs, it involved knocking on doors, canvassing. So it really involved everything. You got to raise a little bit of money. There's a lot of involved, and you build connections with people who are like-minded, and then people who are not so like-minded, and then you realize that it's extremely political, and it's kind of like baseball where you have the pros at the very top, and then you have farm teams, and I'm kind of like at this farm level AA ball kind of situation right now, and parents. But here's the thing: people are extremely passionate, right? Nobody's going to go and care so much what the congressman is doing. But when you mess with people's kids, all of a sudden people really come out. And now it's a game where the AA team, like me, has more viewers, more people paying attention than people do at the very large levels. So parents are getting involved today like I've never seen, like I've never been involved before.
Now, you're relatively newly elected. You went up against an incumbent, so it must have been a little bit of a mental block that you had to beat somebody who was already there. What was your mindset like going into the race?
Well, for me, I'm a combat veteran. I have not been too far removed from my service, so I had that mindset that I'm also a very competitive person by nature. So for me, it became very personal. I was out there. I was wearing out shoes. I was raising money. I was confronting people who wanted to be involved or who did not want to be involved, and really taking it to task. I'm the most right-leaning board member in the most left-leaning district in my county. So people, when that situation happens, that people are involved at levels that they've never been before. So it's just a matter of working hard, not taking no for an answer, and talking to as many people as you can.
John Arguelles, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
4 states, including New York, are challenging a federal cap on tax deductions. Their efforts failed again as the Supreme Court decided not to hear the appeal. The 4 states are New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Maryland. They tried to rule out a Trump-era federal cap that was a $10,000 cap on the deduction of state and local property and income taxes for federal taxable income. Lower courts ruled against the states twice. DC-based think tank The Tax Foundation found that most Americans received a net tax cut with the current policy. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is back after missing 2 weeks of arguments. The 73-year-old justice joined the new 2-week session. Thomas is the longest-serving member of the court. He was taken to the hospital about a month ago with flu-like symptoms. He stayed there for about a week and attended arguments remotely afterwards. His colleague, Justice Stephen Breyer, will be stepping down following this session and will be replaced by Ketanji Brown Jackson later this summer.